So, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels.
Kevin Durant is one of the most tragic tales, yet one of the most cautionary stories in the entire NBA. An individual that could have challenged the top 3 for the greatest player of all time, who's had any potential of that happening completely destroyed, primarily because of the mismanagement of his own career, his ego, and his hubris. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Over the past few days, we've been dominating on Prize Picks. We've been hitting an NBA, MLB, and we're on a hot streak, making a ton of money while having a lot of fun while doing it. I post my picks for free on Instagram, so you can literally just go copy my picks and just enjoy the game. And right now, Prize Picks will double your deposit match when you use my promo code TheFlightMike when you sign up. Or you can just click on the link in the description down below and sign up for Prize Picks. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Kevin Durant is a generational talent, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, but he's also a player that could have achieved so much more if he had not let his ego get in his own way. I'm going to leave the decision to join the Golden State Warriors aside during the 2016 season, even though personally I felt like he could have had a career where he won a championship with the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially considering the fact that during that playoff series versus the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 NBA playoffs, the Thunder were up 3-1 versus the Golden State Warriors. They were one game away from defeating the greatest regular season team of all time, and then inevitably blew a 3-1 series lead to the Warriors to lose that series. The way that Kevin Durant would leave the OKC Thunder left such a bad taste in their mouth that they would give away his jersey number ever since, which is a huge sign of disrespect, considering that this is without a doubt the greatest player in OKC's history, at least for now. Obviously, they currently have a basketball player that is making up ground on Kevin Durant. But the craziest part about this is the decision was done. He made the unpopular decision that everybody hated him for. I still kind of hate him for that decision. It ruined the parity in the NBA. But for Kevin Durant, it was one of the best decisions he could have made for his career. His life was significantly easier on the Golden State Warriors. And if you just take a look at his playoff resume, he had the greatest years of his career on the Golden State Warriors. He shot a 68% true shooting percentage in the playoffs, which is his career high. The 5 best single series shooting percentages of Kevin Durant's career, at least in the playoffs, would all come with the Golden State Warriors. And this is all because Kevin Durant's shots with the Golden State Warriors were much easier. It's very difficult to guard a 28-year-old Steph Curry, but imagine a 28-year-old Steph Curry combined with Kevin Durant. This is the first time in Kevin Durant's career where he wasn't the sole focal point of each and every team's defense. It was either Curry or himself, and whoever defenses would focus on, the Warriors would depend on the latter. Combine this with Golden State's rapid pace and their consistent movement offensively, and it made it impossible to guard both Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. So what's my point here? Well, when Kevin Durant was on Golden State, he rarely ever isolated. As a matter of fact, isolations only accounted for about 10% of Kevin Durant's possessions during his 2016 to 2017 championship run with the Golden State Warriors. 56% of his baskets came off of assists, which means Kevin Durant didn't need to isolate and create his own shot for himself, despite being one of the most capable players to do so. Now, when you compare that to his run with the Brooklyn Nets, isolations accounted for 25% of his scoring, and only 44% of his baskets were assisted. And this has also continued during his time with the Phoenix Suns, when he would isolate on 25% of his playoff possessions last year, and against the Minnesota Timberwolves, it would go up to 26%. Now, Kevin Durant is incredible at isolation basketball, but if there's one thing we've noticed consistently, it's that isolation basketball can only take you so far. It's a huge reason why the Boston Celtics still haven't won a championship. It's the reason why the James Harden Houston Rockets were never able to make it past the Western Conference Finals. And the craziest part about this is it never had to be this way. But the reason why Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors is because of his fragile ego. We all remember this particular game. Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors face off against the Los Angeles Clippers. He gets mad at Draymond Green for a late turnover, and this resulted in an overtime loss. And Draymond Green says said something that was unforgivable, yet very true. And it was the fact that the Golden State Warriors were able to win before Kevin Durant, and they'll be able to win after Kevin Durant. And I wish we could put an asterisk to that, because although the Golden State Warriors were able to win before and after Kevin Durant, clearly they would have won significantly more had Kevin Durant stayed. Now, Draymond Green and KD would clear the air on this.
On personal sanity, because I've been getting my ass kicked ever since you left. So just for my own personal sanity, how much did our argument against the Clippers drive you to ultimately lead the Warriors?
It wasn't an argument. It was the way that everybody, Steve Kerr, act like it didn't happen. Bob Myers and tried to just discipline you and think that that would put the mask over everything. I really felt like that was such a big situation for us as a group. The first time we went through something like that, we had to get that shit all out. I remember watching The Last Dance, and when Scotty didn't go into the game, the whole team in the locker room said, Scotty, that was fucked up that you did that. We needed that. We just needed to throw all of that shit out on the table and say, yo, Dre, K, like, that was fucked up that we even had to go through that. Let's just wipe our hands with that and go finish the task. I don't think we did that. We tried to dance around it. I just didn't like how all of that, just the vibe between all of that, it just made shit weird to me. And I'd rather us be who we say we are, family first. Communication is key. Like, we didn't show that, and that's what rubbed me the wrong way more than anything.
When we landed back from LA, I sat Hazel was sitting in the car for an hour and 45 minutes. They pulled me in that room at Signature for an hour and 45 minutes, and they tried to tell me, you need to apologize. And I told them, I'll talk to Kay, but y'all aren't going to tell me what I need to say. And, you know, they went on for an hour and 45 minutes saying a bunch of bullshit. And ultimately, they realized, all right, we're not getting through to him. We're going to try again in the morning. And so we met the next morning, and they said, all right, you slept on it. You ready to apologize? And I told them right then and there, I said, y'all about to fuck this up. I said, the only person that can make this right is me and Kay. And there's nothing that y'all can do, and y'all are going to fuck this up. And in my opinion, they fucked it up.
I think so too.
And they told me right then and there, like, we're going to suspend you for this game. I laughed in their face, literally laughed in their face. And Bob said to me, he said, wow, that was not the reaction I was looking for or expecting. And I said, well, either I'm gonna laugh in your face or I'm gonna cuss you the fuck out. So you pick, I'm gonna choose laugh. So I think what you're doing is funny, and so I'm gonna laugh. And so it's interesting to hear you say essentially the same thing that I told them that day.
But there's no question about it. Think about the final season that this Golden State Warriors core had together, where Kevin Durant suffered a torn Achilles in the NBA Finals versus the Toronto Raptors, and Klay Thompson would tear his ACL. Had Kevin Durant stayed on the Golden State Warriors, he would have returned the season following the Golden State Warriors getting the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. And when you consider the fact that Klay Thompson would tear his Achilles before returning, this would have been a legacy-defining season for Kevin Durant. Who knows what the Warriors would have done with the number 2 pick? Maybe it would have still been James Wiseman. Maybe they would have selected LaMelo Ball given these circumstances. But there's no question about it. Steph Curry and Kevin Durant may have been enough to carry the Golden State Warriors to, at the very minimum, another Western Conference championship. You're telling me that Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors would not have been capable of facing off against the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference Finals during the 2021 season? And say they're able to make it past that team and make it to the 2021 NBA Finals, this would have all been because of Kevin Durant, a man that has been searching for his legacy-defining moment despite winning 2 championships with the Golden State Warriors. A man that has been searching for a way to say that this championship is because of me, or this progress is because of me. I'm more than just one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. But instead, he made his career significantly harder because of it, and he shot himself in the foot multiple times. We all know what would happen with Kevin Durant. During the 2019 offseason, he would sign with the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets would also sign Kyrie Irving with Kevin Durant. And immediately, KD thought it was a horrific mistake because you would see interviews like this.
In my past life, like I said, I was you. I was you. I was you. What you are now, that's what I'm up here.
And this is where Kevin Durant would follow a similar trajectory in his career as LeBron James. You see, when LeBron James left the Cleveland Cavaliers following his first stint to join the Miami Heat, he at least had the intelligence to understand that if he left to the Miami Heat for a few seasons, maybe the Cavaliers could stink it up, maybe they could draft some good talent, and maybe he could go back eventually and win a championship with the Cavaliers, which is exactly what he did. Sure, he demanded that the Cavaliers trade Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett for Kevin Love, and yeah, that ended up working out. They ended up winning a championship together. In the case of Kevin Durant, he would do the same thing over and over again, and he wouldn't learn anything from it. First instance being the Brooklyn Nets. He would join the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie Irving. For some reason, these two really wanted the Brooklyn Nets to sign DeAndre Jordan, despite them already having a way better center who's significantly younger, making way less money, and who had significantly more potential in Jarrett Allen. But on top of that, Kyrie Irving would mention throughout the season that the Brooklyn Nets needed more help. This is before Kevin Durant even took the floor. And eventually, the Brooklyn Nets would oblige. They would trade the remainder of their depth: Jarrett Allen, Taurean Prince, Karis LeVert, 3 first-round picks, 4 first-round pick swaps would go to the Houston Rockets. And in return, the Nets would get James Harden. Kevin Durant built his own super team for the Brooklyn Nets. And I personally thought it was unnecessary. I felt like him and Kyrie Irving plus all this depth that they had was perfect for the scenario that they were in. On top of this, they decided to move on from Kenny Atkinson after year 1, and Kevin Durant would handpick his own head coach, Steve Nash, an individual that he would request the Nets to move on from a few seasons later. The Brooklyn Nets would essentially isolate between Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant over and over again. And in year 1 with James Harden, things actually looked kind of promising, but as a result of the big three consistently being injured, whether it was James Harden's hamstring or Kyrie Irving's war with Eric Adams over him getting vaccinated, this core would end up playing 16 games together. And once the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets was no longer on the same page with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they decided to trade him. Now, this was probably the only intelligent decision I think the Brooklyn Nets general manager made during this era. And to be honest, I have no idea how Sean Marks still has a job. It's something that absolutely amazes me because to this day, I still think he makes terrible decisions. But this one in particular was not really one of them. The Brooklyn Nets were trapped, essentially. They signed Kevin Durant to a huge contract extension. He was in his mid-30s. He has been playing on a torn Achilles, and it was only a matter of time before he's no longer the Kevin Durant of old. So trading him for a large haul of draft capital so you could rebuild was going to be very difficult. But fortunately for the Brooklyn Nets, they were able to get it done, trading Kevin Durant and TJ Warren to the Phoenix Suns for 4 first-round picks and a 2028 pick swap, in addition to Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder, a generational get from the Phoenix Suns, who for some reason felt like this was a necessary trade. The Suns were already a superpower in the Western Conference, but they were starting to decline. On the heels of the Robert Sarver incident, new owner Matt Ishbia purchased the Suns and made this trade within 24 hours, going all in on his core of Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and now Kevin Durant. And he wasn't willing to wait to see whether or not this would work out with Monty Williams, who in his tenure with the Phoenix Suns would win Coach of the Year and would also make it to the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant would only play in 17 games that season. They would make it to the Western Conference semifinals and eventually lose to the Denver Nuggets before Matt Ishbia decided to blow it up even further. Matt Ishbia would fire Monty Williams and hire Frank Vogel, and then would trade Chris Paul and multiple first-round pick swaps for Bradley Beal. Immediately, the Phoenix Suns became extremely top-heavy, so their response to this was trading DeAndre Ayton to the Portland Trailblazers to get Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. But the biggest problem that the Suns had was their lack of depth. They were incredibly top-heavy, but the top was very promising: Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. But once again, this team failed to live up to its potential. Bradley Beal struggled to stay healthy during the NBA season, playing in 53 games during the NBA season. Once he did play, he had to play a very unnatural position for himself, operating as the team's point guard. Kevin Durant would play 75 games throughout the season, and Devin Booker would play 68 games. Combined with the fact that the Western Conference was extremely deep, resulted in the Phoenix Suns finishing with the 6th seed, 49-33, where they would face off against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round. Kevin Durant, now at the age of 35, was hoping that his superstar teammates would make his life a little easier, but instead of playing cohesive basketball that featured a ton of ball movement like he did with the Golden State Warriors, once again again, he formed a brand new super team in a brand new area and depended on his isolation ball to win games. There's only so many games you can win by doing that. Whenever you take a look at the Denver Nuggets, there are multiple ways they could beat you. The Jokic Jamal Murray pick and roll, the Jokic handoffs to Jamal Murray, which typically results in either a Jokic close range basket, a Jamal Murray layup, a Michael Porter Jr. or KCP 3-pointer, or an Aaron Gordon alley-oop, is the way that you want to build this team. There's only so many times you could depend on one player to isolate and get you a basket consistently. Percentage-wise, that's not going to win you a championship. And it's unfortunate because it's already too late for Kevin Durant to realize that. At the end of this season, Kevin Durant's going to be 36 years old. Fortunately for KD, he becomes an unrestricted free agent when he's 38 years old. But at this point, man, it's too little too late. There's not really a way that the Phoenix Suns can get much better than this. They had a whole offseason training program with each other. They have virtually no assets left. And at the end of the day, you already know Kevin Durant is going to go on social media trying to debate with other NBA fans and claim that they don't know basketball. But deep down inside, he knows the real reason why he isn't winning a championship. And all he can do is lament and think about how much easier it could have been if he had at least stayed with the Golden State Warriors. But as a result, many people don't even have Kevin Durant in their top 10 greatest players of all time. So let me know in the comment section down below, how could the Phoenix Suns build a contender around KD? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.